Hi, my name's Kasha. I'm the youth editor at news.com.au. Today, I'm joined with Jasper, Nick, Rachel, and Jahin from our NewsChat panel, and we're going to talk about housing affordability. First off, what are our current living situations? How many of you are renting? How many of you are living at home? And why have you made that choice either way?
I have been renting, so I moved out of home when I was 18. Went on to university campus for 2 years and have been renting ever since. I rented on the south coast, now I rent in Sydney.
I'm currently still living with my parents while I try and set up all my music stuff. So
Nice.
just until I sort of get my career going, I'm sort of just chilling here.
So do you find that being able to stay at your parents, do you find that that's kind of a money choice? Like it's helping you be able to just spend your money on your business instead of having to worry about rent?
Yeah, not having to worry about rent puts me forward a lot in terms of allocating all my most of my time, my resources towards my career and towards my business. Yes.
I travel around a lot because of work and university. So I'm currently renting in Canberra, and also I've got my home or my parents' place in Sydney.
I had an unstable living situation with my family, and like now I had been made homeless and my partner took me in, but like I have been spending months looking for an affordable place to rent in the Sydney area, and that doesn't exist. So
Sadly, it doesn't. And Nick, because you were in Brisbane before, weren't you?
yes, so I've moved from Brisbane to Sydney.
Yeah. So how are you finding the difference even between those two cities in terms of trying
There's
to
like a
find somewhere?
Oh well, there's like a $300 difference in rental prices. it's
Yeah,
it's
it's
a-
huge,
it's
right?
yeah, it's big.
So this issue in general, do do we see this as a sort of combined with cost of living issue, which is like obviously quite prevalent for for younger people? Um, and if so, what would you want to see change in cost of living?
I think you just have to be so privileged to be able to compete in the housing market in the first point. I think I don't see a point in the future where you'd be able to compete at all. I'm really, really lucky. I've worked really hard. I've got on a salary. I've been able to move here independently. But for me, this is the only thing that I'd be able to really afford. And if my circumstances change, like if I no longer have a housemate, if I don't have a job, if I happen to get pregnant, all of that situation completely changes and I won't be able to live near my work. I won't be able to live in the city. I'd have to relocate entirely.
For young people in particular, especially young people who are studying or even people on a pension or anything, the government benefit like the payment that you get from Centrelink is like poverty line. Rising cost of living with that added to it means that rental affordability is just non-existent.
It's really hard now to compete in terms of getting places. I know people who, my mates back living on the south coast or friends that have gone up north, Newcastle way, that have repeatedly applied for houses and haven't gotten anywhere based on the fact that they don't have much of a history. So I think it's that tension between how do you crack the rental market and get into a place, but also how do you compete at the same time when you don't have that, I suppose, the rental references.
Another obstacle that I feel like a lot of young people are facing is just the lack of financial literacy. As soon as you get out of school or head into university, or even when you graduate university, depending on your degree and your course, you really don't have that level of understanding of what is it like to invest, what is it like to save, how do I manage all my money, what is budgeting. These are soft skills that we're just not taught as much as we should be. When you don't have the fundamental understanding of what it means to save money or budget and all these things, it's just putting everybody into like an almost like an abyss where you're just on your own and you're having to meet these expectations. And like you mentioned, the government putting the expectation of buying your first home when people are struggling to even maintain their salary or their wages for rent or just for food on a weekly basis. So I think the absence of financial literacy is hurting a lot of young people.
The housing market, the housing everything is completely inaccessible to people who are disabled, especially if you're deemed unemployable. because both me and my partner are deemed unemployable by the government, and also any type we try to get a job and everything because of our disabilities. But the housing everything does not take into account disabled people at all. It doesn't. It doesn't give them home. It does not give them pension. It is completely inaccessible to them.
So what do we think should change? What would you like to see, whatever government gets in, what would you like to see them changing to try and help everybody out?
The complete opposite of everything that's been done so far would be a good start. It seems that young people have been left behind for a very, very long time.
Well, it would be nice for the next Prime Minister to understand that we can't just buy a house.
If you want people to buy houses, we need to be able to live. Like, first point of call, you need to be able to live. We need the most vulnerable to be looked after first. Like, I noticed that there's a lot of developments happening around Sydney, but they're only building 2-bedroom apartments, so there's no spaces for families. So families are pushed to the outskirts of Sydney, and that, of course, then tends to working families having to commute into work, childcare prices. Like, it's just it all lumps together. I think if you want to encourage young people to buy houses, you need to support them to live.